If you are complaining about me defending my family, you get out of this house.
You do know that this house belongs to my father, right? So if anyone's leaving, it's you. If your sister is so important to you, why don't you rent an apartment and live there with her and her child? I doubt whether your salary is enough to cover expense for the three of you, though.
Shut up! Don't you dare make fun of me!
With this, my husband slaps me on the cheek. Oh.
That's what happens when you disobey me. If you don't want it to happen again, do as I say.
My name is Kate, and I'm a 34 years old office worker. I currently live with my husband, Corey, and our 6-year-old daughter, Michelle. We live in an apartment, which is just the right size for a family of 3. But recently, a certain individual suddenly moved in, and it has become a big problem. The certain individual is my sister-in-law, Judy. Out of the blue, she came to our house with her 3-year-old daughter. According to Judy, her husband is an abusive man who constantly harasses her at home. It seems he is physically violent too when things are rough. She says she was afraid of what would happen to her daughter if she stayed, so she came to our house. Her parents' house is in the countryside, and she doesn't want to move out of New York because her daughter just started kindergarten. Corey heard his sister's story and welcomed her into our house without any questions. Well, if that's the case, I'll be fine sheltering her for a while. This is what I thought at first. However, I gradually began to doubt whether Judy was speaking the truth. It's already been a month since she came here, but she hasn't shown any signs of preparing for divorce or looking for a new room or job. For a while, I guess it was necessary for her to take time to calm down and relax. But it's been a month. It's not wrong for me to think she should be making some kind of move. And I haven't heard whether her husband's been in touch either. I think maybe she's told Corey, so I try to ask him. But he says weird things such as,
I can't tell you, it's Judy's private matters.
Corey is not the only one working and financially supporting the household, and I'm actually the one managing the living expenses and making sure ends meet. So I need to know how long Judy will be staying with us. Well, to be honest, I want her to leave as soon as possible. If Corey won't do anything, I will have to speak to Judy myself. Judy, when are you getting a divorce? Have you hired a lawyer? Have you found a room? But when I ask her these questions, she replies, Oh no, I'm still too weak to go through all that. Acting like this vulnerable being all of a sudden. But she eats so much of my cooking every day and goes out at night leaving her daughter with me. Most of the time, she comes home stinking of alcohol. When I point this out to Corey, he just says,
She had a tough time with her husband, repressing her, let her be, and does nothing. I had no idea because I didn't know Judy too well. But it seems Corey loves his sister too much. She is spoiled because of him. That's why she gets carried away and doesn't listen to me. Lately, I think she's gotten too used to living in our house. She's always lounging on the couch. Even before I go to work, she's there on the couch. And when I come home from work, she's still there. She doesn't help with any of the housework, leaving the aircon on, and uses our groceries for her lunch without permission. So when I came home, the groceries I was going to use for dinner are gone. Sometimes I would have to go to the supermarket again to buy more.
This continues, and before I know it, 2 months has passed since Judy and her daughter first came to our house. I really can't take it anymore. Can you please talk to her as an older brother? My patience is at an end. So one day, I asked Corey to tell his sister to get her act together.
What? You're going to treat my sister that poorly? She's my family.
How can you say that? I let her stay here 2 months even though she's done nothing. Isn't that generous enough? 2 months is more than enough time to get divorced and work sorted out. But she stays here every day doing absolutely nothing, only to leave the house at night to go and do whatever she pleases.
I'm telling you, it's just her way to relieve the stress of what she has been through.
We have passed the period completely. It's time for her to move on. With this, Corey snaps back at me.
Shut up! You know my sister suffered. You cold-blooded devil. Don't you have a human heart? I didn't think you were so cruel.
For once, I cannot back down. Okay, then you help me with the housework.
Huh?
Help me with the housework. We both work. So why am I the only one doing the housework and taking care of Michelle? If you care so much about your sister, then take care of this house too. At least drive Michelle to kindergarten. You've never done anything. You know that? It's not like you're going through a rough time right now, not like your sister. So you should be capable. With this, Corey doesn't know what to say. I guess he can't talk back because everything I said is right. All he can say to me is this.
Well, that's your job as a wife.
Huh? What was that? Are you harassing me? You say you're upset that Judy's husband is harassing her, but it's okay for you to do the same to me?
That's not what I...
Can I ask you to drive Michelle from now on?
Okay.
The problems with my sister-in-law haven't been solved at all, but for now, I'm glad that my husband is going to help me with our daughter. But this doesn't lessen my workload as much as I thought. Michelle goes to the ballet class, and it is my job to drive her there. She goes to ballet every Saturday, and Corey says he's worried about Judy and her daughter Amy. So he says he has to stay home with them. Well, I never expected him to drive Michelle on Saturdays too. But the problem is that the house is always a mess when I return. And I'm the one who has to clean up after them. When I ask Corey if he can at least keep the house tidy, he says, I'm tired from all the driving, so let me rest on a Saturday. When I ask Judy to help with the housework, Corey says she doesn't need to. So there she is every day just sitting on her ass. It's like she's princess. And Corey seems to be more fond of Amy, his niece, than his own daughter. It worries me that Michelle always seems so sad. I once asked her, "What do you talk about when Dad picks you up?" But she replied with, "We don't. Dad never says a word." When I heard this, I was absolutely mortified. I had no idea that he wouldn't talk to his own daughter at all. After hearing this, I'm filled with anger toward Corey, because he talks to Amy so much, to the point that even she would find annoying. My life has truly been stressful and emotionally draining since Judy's arrival. If she's going to stay any longer, I will have to come up with some measures for my own sake. And the timing to make her move comes faster than I thought. It is while I am in the bath, taking my time to relieve myself from all the stress, when I suddenly hear Corey shouting. I am so startled that I fling on my clothes and rush into the living room.
Michelle, do you know what you just did, huh?
As I reach the living room, I see my daughter trembling in fear with tears rushing down her face. Corey is red-faced and angry. No matter how many times Michelle apologizes, he yells, "You disgusting child! We need to beat that mean personality out of you," and won't listen to her at all. Hey, calm down. Think of what you're saying to her. I immediately stand between my husband and daughter, protecting her. Tell me what happened. I will decide whether you can tell Michelle off or not once I know what happened.
Michelle pushed Amy. She shoved her onto the floor.
What?
How dare she push my sister's daughter? I don't remember raising such a bad girl.
I can't believe it. My daughter is always kind and gentle. I can't believe she would push her cousin so violently. However, looking toward my sister-in-law and her daughter, I see that Judy is hugging and calming down on crying Amy. It was terrible things to do. You have to properly punish her, Corey. Glaring at Michelle, Judy eggs my husband on. Wait a minute. Maybe Michelle did push Amy, but why did she? She wouldn't do something like that without reason. With this, Corey replies,
Amy wanted to read the book Michelle was reading, and then she pushed her.
That was his explanation. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like he's leaving out some important points. Michelle, I won't be angry, so can you tell me the truth? The book you were reading, was it pulled away from you? I asked gently, and she nods. Maybe you were trying to keep hold of it, and then Amy's hand slipped and she fell over? Michelle nods repeatedly. I turn to Corey again. That's not what you told me. Michelle was shocked by the sudden pull, so she just tried to protect herself. She didn't push Amy.
Shut up! That doesn't change the fact she hurt my precious niece.
What are you saying? That your niece is more important than your daughter?
Of course she is. My family is the most important thing to me, which makes my sister's child precious to me as well. If you're complaining about me defending my family, you get out of this house.
I'm disgusted. This man has lost it. No matter how hard I try, we'll never understand each other. You do know that this house belonged to my father, right? With this, my husband looks startled. Judy seems upset too. Huh? What do you mean? She says. So, if anyone's leaving, it's you. If your sister is so important to you, why don't you rent an apartment and live there with her and her child? You will be happy, right? Because you love your sister so much. I doubt whether your salary is enough to cover expenses for 3 of you, though. It seems this was it for Corey.
Shut up! Don't you dare make fun of me!
With this, my husband slaps me on the cheek. Oh! I feel a twinkling pain in my cheek. It must be turning red too.
That's what happens when you disobey me. If you don't want it to happen again, do as I say.
I rub my cheek with my hand and say, Fine, I will do as you say and leave. Packing my belongings, I take my daughter's hand and head to my parents' house. My parents are livid when I tell them what happened.
Divorce him. That's the only option. And I'm getting them to leave that apartment,
says my father, the owner of the apartment.
but I'm sure Corey won't leave the house that easily. So for the time being, I decide to do some research to be prepared. I contact my in-laws to gather information about Judy's husband. I thought they might know something about him. However, they say they haven't heard anything from Judy. On the contrary, according to them, Judy and her husband's relationship was going well. I become increasingly suspicious of Judy's statements. But I've only briefly met her husband Stan, and of course, I don't have his contact info. My in-laws always contacted him through Judy, so they don't know how to reach him either. I heard he works at a company named so-and-so. Why don't you try reaching out to them? They say. So I head off to the company where Stan works. I vaguely remember his face, so I should be able to recognize him at the office. I stand outside the company near the end of the working hours and find him. When I call out to him, Stan is startled. Then he hurriedly asks, "Do you know where Judy is right now?" For a moment, I wonder if Judy really was suffering from this man. But it seems this is not the case. I go to a coffee shop with him and see what he has to say. Apparently, it was Judy who was the terrible one. Does Corey know about this? Well, it doesn't matter. Stan says he wants to help. So with him and my parents, we head to my house to see Corey and Judy. When she sees Stan, Judy is in shock. How did you find me?" "Judy, you know you have to pay the compensation to me, right?" It turns out Judy's words were all lies and she was actually having an affair. To top it off, Stan had already divorced her, and Judy fled to this house because she didn't want to pay him. Stan didn't know how to contact Judy's parents, and he was too busy at work to visit them in the countryside. He was about to give up, unable to do anything about the situation. "Are you still going to take your sister's side?" I asked Corey. "Of course, it's his fault if his wife is cheating on him," he answers. Unbelievable. Great. No need for me to have any tolerance for this man anymore. "I'm divorcing you, and I want you out of here as soon as possible. You are trespassing on my father's property. I've got a medical certificate, and I've filed a damage report for a slap to my cheek. I'm going to file a lawsuit against you for inflicting injury." Hearing this, Corey starts to panic. "Wait a minute. You're joking, right? I'm sorry, it was all my fault. We can talk about this." Corey begs me. Judy is begging Stan to forgive her as she has no money to pay the compensation, but there is no way we would forgive them. I never withdrew the report, so my husband is arrested and has to pay a fine. I also demand a divorce and child support through my lawyer. My ex-husband now has a huge debt. Judy has nowhere to run to anymore, so she has to pay the compensation too. Their parents find out about this incident and they disown Corey, while Judy is dragged back to their house. She is now being forced to work at their farm, and all her wages go to the compensation to Stan. Most of Corey's salary is used to pay off his debt, and he seems to be living a poor life. As for me, I've moved to an apartment near my parents' house, so Corey can't suddenly appear at my door. I'm enjoying spending my days with my daughter, just the two of us. She's now in elementary school, has new friends, and seems much happier than before. I'm hoping to continue working hard to raise my precious daughter. Loving his sister too much and injuring his wife? What sort of husband is that? His parents seem decent, so I wonder why these two siblings became so monstrous. At any rate, I'm glad that Kate and Michelle are living a peaceful life now. I hope they continue to live happily together. Thanks for sticking around until the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one.